Hey, what's up? Michael here. Welcome back to the Restoration Soul Care podcast. My name is Michael. I'm a relationship and recovery coach at Restoration Soul Care, a coaching practice that I founded to help men, women, families overcome things like a pornography addiction. And today we're going to talk about a theme that's been on my heart for a while now that I've put a little bit of language to. But I was, coaching some clients yesterday. This seemed to be a consistent theme that kept coming up in multiple sessions. So, I wasn't paying attention to my own inkling that I should do this earlier, but Monday was sort of like, okay, we gotta just talk about this. What I want to talk about are these two ideas: rejection and regret. They're two things that we sort of play with often. Maybe you've even said the phrase, I regret not doing this sooner, or regret not taking that action. We tend to fear regret, which is probably okay. And then the other side of that is rejection. And that's the thing that I would argue that we fear more than regret oftentimes. But what I want to talk about today is the idea of rejection and regret, how we sort of move back and forth between them. I don't think that they're like on a spectrum, but they're two ideas that I think if we're not careful, we'll start fearing one more than we fear the other. And it will really do a lot of damage to our mindset, our progress, how we move forward. And really, it robs us of our agency and our choice to be able to continue moving toward the thing that we want to, which is hopefully recovery, sobriety, deeper into real connected relationships. So, out of the gate, I need to confess that I have not put out any podcast in the last couple of weeks. That's because, well, a lot of life has happened. Nick and I have recorded intermittently, so I've got some things in the can that I'm working on. The big one that we've been working on is having the special guest, and I know I've talked about this 100 times. That's coming for sure November 11th. I'm hesitant to throw a date out there, but I'm locking myself in. November 11th, Tuesday morning, that episode will be live. But until then, a lot of life has happened. My house is flooded several times with various clogs and pipes. I got rear-ended in my car. I've been managing that project, which is a pain in the butt. So getting back to the idea of today's episode, rejection and regret. Oftentimes, we fear those things. And what I want to say is rejection does hurt. It hurts in the moment. But regret is really what haunts. It will stay with you and you'll think about it. It's this persistent thing that goes a long way. And if you think about it, rejection is sort of this short-term pain that it does sting, but when it's over, we sort of move on. Regret is this long-term thing that lingers and it whispers things that you should have done or maybe you could have done. And I take issue with the word should. Well, maybe we'll get into that later. One has the opportunity to teach you something, and the other really is just hanging around to like terrorize you or torment you. So it's important that you get your bearings right on which one we're going to lean into. Maybe we'll start with rejection. Fear of rejection is really the fear of like this fear of exposure. What's really at stake there is a distorted relationship with our shame. And we talked about shame in the past. There's healthy shame, and then there's toxic shame. Toxic shame says, I didn't do something bad, I am bad. And oftentimes when we run from rejection, that's what's sort of rearing its ugly head, and we're unaware of it. It might be that you're not afraid of being told no. You're actually afraid that someone will see you for probably what you already fear about yourself, and that's that you're not enough. So oftentimes we'll stay quiet, we'll pick the safe option, we'll really stay stuck, and we'll take the option that basically keeps us looking good or maintaining our image. And when we think about how that works with a pornography addiction, a lot of times that's really what's at stake, what's at play. You would do more to get more help if you weren't afraid of being rejected by the people in your life, your relationships, whether that be a spouse, family members, close friends, family, friends in your faith community. Well, this is what I've noticed online also, just in producing content like this, is that people either fall into this category of like, oh my gosh, you're right, I need help, or they sort of trivialize it and they kind of poke fun like, oh, really? Pornography addiction is not really a thing. Get over it. You're a man. It's not an addiction. It's like a healthy thing to do, which I disagree with for 100 reasons we can get into later. Yeah, the idea is that we're trying to avoid the short-term pain of looking bad in front of people that we care about. And I've given you this quote before in other episodes, and I didn't create this. I ripped this from a business podcast. But the guy said what we're actually looking for is the courage to experience our own shame, right, in front of people whose opinions we care about. So that's what rejection is all about. If you're able to experience your shame, experience your pain in front of people whose opinions you care about, knowing that you will not die, you will be okay, there's really not anything that you can't do. But when we fear that rejection, it really keeps us stuck. And now what are you actually living for? You're actually living inside of this box that you've created for yourself that is walled in by what you think people think about you. And that's frankly no way to live. And it will keep you stuck, and it will keep you limited and pushing off things and parts of your life that, man, you're just missing out on, which gets you toward the idea of regret. But, well, I'm going to hold off on that for a minute, because rejection, it does serve a purpose. I don't want to say it's evil, but like if we're paying attention and using it for us instead of reacting against it, it can tell you something. Because rejection, frankly, tells you what doesn't work, and it's feedback. Regret in that capacity can leave you guessing or replaying different moments, conversations, different angles. You never move forward. So you think about it, like one of those things can build clarity while the other sort of feeds this confusion that might be swirling. And as I'm thinking about this, one of the reasons that rejection is so important for us to get a grasp on is because one of the things that I always invite people to do, and other people in programs invite people to do when we're trying to get out of a pornography addiction, is to take that reality and be honest in relationship with somebody else. But if you're afraid of how they're going to think about you, you'll never do that. You'll stay stuck, you'll isolate, you'll pull away from relationships, and you won't make any progress. The quote that we always hear in the addiction circles is, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection, it's relationship. And relationship requires risk, and the risk is they might reject me. And if they do, that's okay. There are 6 point whatever other billion, there's more than 7 billion people on the planet now. I don't know. But like, you can form new relationships, you can find new friends, you can find people who will be for you and not against you, and help build you up, and not just exist to tear you down and tell you what, how terrible you are and the bad things you've done. And think about this, like when you face rejection, you're given the opportunity to grow and to build some resilience. And every time we avoid it, we just get weaker, and we reinforce these ideas. The shame gets louder, and it says, oh gosh, right, yeah, I can't actually tell people about this. And you can either harden into strength, or you can really soften into self-pity. If you've dealt with this for a long time, you know what that feels like, and you're probably over it. Especially, if you're watching this, you're probably sick of it. Let me pause for a minute, and I want to talk about regret. Regret is choosing to do something or not do something because you think you'll be rejected. But later on, you get 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you look back and go, oh man, I wish I had just done that then. I'd be much further along than I am now. And then you might be thinking, well, it's too late. It's never too late. I can't tell you how many people I meet with, from people who are 19 to people all the way up in their 60s, who say this thing. Maybe you've thought this yourself. I'm behind in life because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And to hear a 65-year-old person say that, I'm like, I kind of get that, but like, that shouldn't stop you from getting started on something, right? You can't just quit life. And when I hear people who are in their late teens, early 20s say that, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. You're not even close to being behind. You might feel like you're behind, but again, if we're playing that comparison game, and like, well, they would reject me if they knew where I'm at. They love me for who they think I am, because of that's what I'm showing them, not for who I actually am, or who I actually might be, or who I actually could be. And that causes all kinds of relational problems. So if you're choosing between the two, I want you to err toward fearing regret, not rejection, because you will carry that for years, right? You get rejected, you wake up tomorrow, you can try again. Regret, sometimes you can. It can rewrite your identity and say things like, oh, I'm the guy who didn't do that. And maybe you're already feeling that if you have this internal dialogue that sort of stirs off and on when you're in and out of your sobriety and you relapse. But there's a trade-off, and the real trade-off is your integrity, and you trade integrity for approval. Think about that for a moment. Most men will trade integrity for acceptance. We'll keep quiet, we'll fake confidence, we'll play it safe like we've got it all together, and it doesn't work. When we choose honesty, even if it costs us that approval from other people, you actually win, and you win self-respect, you win integrity. And that's so important, because, again, this isn't about other people doing this for you or doing the work for you. It's about you owning it and doing it for yourself. If you can't take ownership over the things that you want to change about yourself, nothing's ever really going to change. You have to grasp that. Here's something else I want you to hold on to. Choosing rejection is choosing freedom. When you stop dodging rejection and you start living honestly in front of people whose opinions you care about, you're no longer negotiating your worth based on these false ideas of yourself that you're giving people. You move from a fear-driven decision to how do I stay safe in these relationships when it's not real, to a mission-driven relationship. And when you can own who you are and what you want and where you want to go in life, that's good enough for people. They're not questioning that, because that's who you're showing up as. And that's the real way to live. That's the real way to get through a pornography addiction. When you can own and you can own the fact that I don't want to wake up with regret that I didn't tackle this earlier, then the rejection thing goes out the window. So here's the bottom line. You'll either pay the short-term price of rejection or the lifelong cost of regret. They both hurt. Pick your pain. One frees you, and the other owns you. I hope that's helpful to dissect those two things a little bit and think about, if sort of walking you through this like I would in, coaching session, I'd be asking you some really good reflection questions about what does rejection look like in your life right now? Do you avoid it? Do you fear it? Do you walk headfirst into it? What do your relationships look like around you? Are your relationships pretty light and superficial? Are you craving like this deeper connection with people that you don't really just have? Because that's, your relationships are built on this idea of the false you that you want people to believe is true? Or is there some depth and honesty and vulnerability and truth in who you are as a person that you show up with in relationships where people go, okay, yeah, I know him. He ain't perfect, but man, he's trying to do some stuff. And when you lead with that vulnerability in relationships, oftentimes that gets reciprocated. So if you're thinking, I could never tell anybody this thing about me because they'll reject me, well, probably your first step is finding somebody to tell those things about you so that they can reciprocate and not reject you, but accept you. And if you're not sure if you have those relationships in your life, I've got some other content and episodes on like what safe relationships look like, how to find them, how to cultivate those. So, not just because you have somebody in your life doesn't mean that they're a safe relationship and they're worthy of your trust. That's really important to grasp because, and I'll say this, too, as much as we love church and Christians and church people, just because people show up to church and say they're Christian doesn't mean that they're safe. It just doesn't. Hopefully that we're all working on that journey toward being a safe person, but it doesn't necessitate it. Yeah, I hope that helps you on your journey. As you're reflecting, think about where you fall into those two ideas, what you really want out of life. And again, if you want my help, if you want Nick's help, reach out to us, rscky.com, or you can hit us up on Instagram at Mike Camber, Camber with a K, or at Nick W. Buddha. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you, hear your story, and just learn how we can, man, if nothing else, point you in the right direction and get you and keep you going on the journey. Also this week, I am launching my free resource. I've been working on this for a long time. Finally got it formatted, and I finally feel good about it. It's called Quit Porn Quick Start Guide. Man, it's everything that if years ago when I was looking for resources about how to get out of pornography, if somebody had handed me this and like, hey, start here. This is an easy dip your toe in the water of what relational health, what sexual health could look like and feel freeing. This is the best place I could tell you to start. I mean, these are things, practices, frameworks, ideas, reflections, questions I use every day in my coaching practice with men to help them break free from pornography. So I hope you'll go download that. I'll post a link to my Instagram later, but if nothing else, you can get it on the website, rscky.com/quick start. Go get it, and we'll talk soon.